In the hardest years of America's history, two hearts proved that love could survive hunger, fear, and time. This is the story of Clara and Jack, a tale woven into the fabric of the Great Depression, a time when the world seemed to be falling apart. But their love was just beginning to build a world of its own. It was 1932. The dust hadn't just settled on the fields. It had settled on people's dreams. Hope was a currency scarcer than a dollar bill. In a small, struggling town in Oklahoma, Clara was a librarian, a guardian of stories in a time when most people were just trying to write the next page of their own survival. Her days were quiet, filled with the scent of old paper and the soft rustle of turning pages. She saw the worry etched on the faces of the people who came in, not just for books, but for a moment of warmth and escape. Then, one brisk autumn afternoon, Jack walked in. He wasn't looking for an escape. He was looking for a job. Any job. He'd ridden the rails from Kansas, his hands calloused from farm work that had dried up with the land. He had kind eyes that held a flicker of determination, a stark contrast to the despair that seemed to hang in the air. He asked if there was any work, mending books, sweeping floors, anything. The library had no budget for help, but Clara saw something in him, a quiet strength that resonated with her own. She told him she couldn't pay him in cash, but she could offer him a hot meal each day he helped. He smiled, a genuine, heart-lifting smile that reached his eyes, and said, "Ma'am, a meal is worth more than gold these days." And so, their story began, not with a grand romance, but with shared bowls of soup and quiet conversations amidst towering shelves of books. Jack was a natural storyteller. He'd talk about the stars he'd seen while sleeping in open fields, the different towns he'd passed through, and the resilience of the folks he'd met. He didn't complain about his hardships. Instead, he found moments of beauty in the struggle. Clara, in turn, shared her world of words, reading him passages from Steinbeck and poetry that spoke of hope and endurance. The library, once a place of solitude for her, became their shared sanctuary, a small island of warmth and connection in a sea of uncertainty. Their friendship blossomed like a wildflower in a cracked pavement. They found joy in the simplest things. A shared apple became a feast. A walk by the nearly dry riverbed at sunset was their grand adventure. One evening, Jack used scraps of wood he'd found to carve a small, intricate bird for Clara. As he handed it to her, he said, "Even when it feels like we're caged, our spirits can still find a way to fly in that moment." Clara knew this was more than friendship. In his resilience, she found courage. In his kindness, she found a home. It wasn't a love born of whispered sweet nothings in glamorous settings. It was a love forged in the fires of adversity, built on a foundation of mutual respect and shared humanity. But the Depression was a relentless storm. The town's bank failed, and the library's already meager funding was cut completely. The doors were set to close. The news was a blow not just to Clara and Jack, but to the whole community. The library was more than a building. It was the town's heart. Panic and despair started to creep back in. For Clara, losing the library felt like losing the last beacon of light. For Jack, it meant losing the place end, the person that had given him a reason to stop wandering. He saw the distress in Clara's eyes, the fear that their small, beautiful world was about to be dismantled. But Jack wasn't one to surrender. He looked at Clara and said, "They can close the doors, but they can't take away the stories, and they can't take away what we've built here." That night, he gathered a few other men from the town, folks who had also found solace within the library's walls. With Clara's guidance, they hatched a plan. They couldn't save the building, but they could save the library. They built makeshift shelves on the back of an old farm truck. They carefully packed the books, organizing them with a system Clara devised on scraps of paper. Their sanctuary was going mobile. The bookmobile, they called it, a library on wheels, powered by a sputtering engine and a whole lot of heart. The first day, the bookmobile rattled through the dusty streets. It was a sight to behold. People emerged from their homes, their faces a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. Clara, standing on the truck bed, felt a surge of pride she hadn't felt in months. Jack drove, his familiar, steady smile a reassurance to everyone. They didn't just deliver books. They delivered hope. They brought stories to families who couldn't travel, read to children in farmyards, and created a new kind of community center, one that moved and breathed with the people. Jack and Clara became a team, partners in every sense of the word. Their days were long and their resources were slim, but their purpose was immense. One evening, after a long day of driving the bookmobile to an outlying migrant camp, they sat on the truck's running board, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The air was cool, and the world was quiet. Jack turned to Clara, his expression serious but gentle. "Clara," he began, his voice low. "All my life, I've been moving, looking for something I couldn't name. A place to belong. I thought it was a town or a job, but I was wrong." He took her hand, his calloused palm warm against hers. "It was never a place. It was a person. It's you." Clara's heart swelled. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were tears of pure, unadulterated joy. "Oh, Jack," she whispered. "I was surrounded by a million stories, but I never thought I'd find myself in the best one of all. Right there, under a sky full of stars, with the scent of dust and old books in the air, Jack asked Clara to marry him. There was no ring, no fancy proposal, just of people, a promise, and a love that had proven itself stronger than any hardship. Her yes was lost in a kiss that sealed their future, a future they would build together, one page, 1 mile, one day at a time. Their wedding was simple. The whole town, their extended family, came to celebrate. They held it in an open field, with wildflowers for decoration and music from a neighbor's old guitar. The bookmobile was parked nearby, a silent witness to the love story that had given it life. They didn't have much in the way of material possessions, but they were the richest people in the world. They had each other, they had a purpose, and they had a community that they had helped hold together. Years passed. The war came and went, and slowly, America began to heal. The economy recovered, the dust settled for good, and green shoots of prosperity began to appear. The town eventually built a new, bigger library, and Clara became its head librarian once again. Jack, who had taught himself mechanics by keeping the bookmobile running, opened a small but successful auto repair shop. The bookmobile itself was retired, given a place of honor in the local town museum, a monument to a time of hardship and the incredible power of community. Clara and Jack grew old together. They raised a family, filling their home with laughter, books, and the stories of their youth. They would often sit on their porch in the evenings, holding hands, watching their grandchildren play in the yard. They never forgot the lessons of the Depression, the value of community, the joy and simplicity, and the unwavering strength of human connection. Their love story became a local legend, a reminder passed down through generations that even in the darkest of times, light can be found. It's found in the kindness of a stranger, in the shared words of a book, and in the steadfast heart of someone who sees you, loves you, and chooses to build a world with you, no matter the storm. Their story wasn't just about surviving the Great Depression. It was about how, in the face of scarcity, they discovered an abundance of what truly matters. It's a testament to the fact that love isn't about what you have, but about who you have to share the journey with. And for Clara and Jack, their journey, which started with a bowl of soup in a quiet library, became the greatest story of all. Thank you so much for joining me for this story today. If you were touched by Clara and Jack's journey, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that celebrate the human spirit. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you next time.